For years, Kurt has been trying to get famous online. On his channel, Kurt's World 96, he posts all kinds of content, like draw my life videos, gaming, shoe reviews. He also features his dad Chris, who works as a DJ and divorced Kurt's mom a long time ago. After the divorce, Kurt chose to stay with his mom to support her, especially since she was deeply upset by the separation. To make some money, Kurt has been working as a babysitter. Despite all his efforts, Kurt has never been able to grow a loyal audience. His videos barely reach double-digit views. In contrast, Bobby, a kid Kurt used to babysit, is now a famous influencer with his channel Bobby Basecamp. Kurt considers Bobby a friend, but Bobby only tolerates him and tries to keep him away from his own audience. After 10 years of failed attempts at becoming a successful streamer, Kurt reaches his breaking point. He decides to make one last effort with a project he calls The Lesson. This project is supposed to teach people how to gain an online following. Kurt begins by setting up his car with multiple cameras and stocking it with water bottles. He explains, "This is step 1 of the lesson. If you're not documenting yourself, you don't exist." His plan is to work as a driver for a rideshare app called Spree. His first passenger is a man who refuses to wear his seatbelt and questions the cameras. Kurt reassures him that the cameras are for protection. The passenger starts preaching racist ideas, which worries Kurt because he thinks it might hurt his chances of gaining an audience. To distract the man, Kurt drives more recklessly, but the man complains. Kurt encourages him to drink a free water bottle from the car. The water has been poisoned, something Kurt learned from a video tutorial he made on how to poison without getting caught. As the man drinks, Kurt puts on music and speeds through a stop sign. The passenger starts coughing and dies in the back seat. Kurt's only viewer at the moment is Bobby, who thinks the whole thing is a staged act to gain attention. Kurt is fine with this because it's part of his plan. At first, nobody should know it's real. He wants to build momentum before revealing the truth to maximize attention. Kurt's next passenger is a snippy realtor who leaves her sign in the trunk. After some casual conversation, she grabs a water bottle, unknowingly sealing her fate. She quickly becomes Kurt's second victim. Kurt moves to the back seat to show her lifeless body on camera and even jokes about drinking the poisoned water himself. During this, Chris calls Kurt asking for a ride, but Kurt hangs up on him. To cover his tracks, Kurt uses the dead woman's face to unlock her phone and gives himself a 5-star rating on the app. He then responds to one of her text messages with a rude reply, ensuring she won't be expected at a meeting. After getting rid of the body, Kurt picks up his next passenger, a rude and cocky guy named Mario. Kurt tries to play his own music, but Mario complains about it and refuses to drink the free water. Ignoring Mario's attitude, Kurt takes a detour to pick up another passenger, despite Mario's protests since he had chosen the carpool option. The new passenger is Jessie, a famous influencer and stand-up comedian. As soon as Jessie gets in the car, she hears Mario making sleazy comments and cancels the ride, walking away immediately. Mario pressures Kurt to follow her, so Kurt offers to drive her for free, just to get her back in the car. As Kurt drives, he learns Jessie has a huge following and asks how she became successful. Jessie simply says it's because she's funny. Kurt keeps asking for advice, and Mario continues making inappropriate comments, which Jessie records to post on her social media. Sick of both of them, Jessie eventually leaves the car, calling them creepy and leaving Kurt frustrated. He's upset about missing the chance to connect with a popular influencer. Suddenly, Kurt changes his route and drives Mario to a remote construction site. He speeds so fast that Mario begins to feel nauseous. Kurt tells him to get out of the car to avoid vomiting inside. Mario steps out to relieve himself, and Kurt blasts his own music at full volume before slamming his car into Mario. The impact sends Mario's body flying over the car, landing perfectly on the windshield to create a bloody scene for the camera. After dumping Mario's body and cleaning the car, Kurt stalks Jessie's social media and finds out she has a stand-up show that night. He takes it as a sign, saying that he and Jessie are both destined to be big stars on the same night. Of course, Kurt isn't big yet. His streams still only have single-digit viewers, and the only person tipping him is Bobby, who still thinks Kurt's murders are fake. Bobby is a shallow content creator himself, known for staging pranks on homeless people and faking acts of charity for views. Later, Kurt stops at a gas station to refill his car and get rid of the realtor's sign. While cleaning up the blood, he argues with Bobby, who tells him his stream is boring and needs more excitement. Taking Bobby's advice, Kurt decides to step things up with his next passengers. He picks up a group of 3 socialites: Richard, Kendra, and London. At first, Richard and Kendra are terrified by Kurt's reckless driving, but London is thrilled by the thrill and jumps into the front seat to chat with Kurt. Kurt drives them off route again, taking them to a junkyard. He tells Richard and Kendra to stick their heads out of the sunroof, claiming the view is perfect for taking social media pictures. Richard and Kendra go along with Kurt's suggestion and seem to be having fun, but things take a dark turn when Kurt suddenly speeds up and traps them by closing the sunroof. As his song plays in the background, wild junkyard dogs leap onto Richard and Kendra, attacking them viciously. Meanwhile, Kurt uses a power drill from his car to kill London. After the murders, Kurt takes his car to a car wash and calls Bobby to ask for his opinion on the stream. Unfortunately, Bobby missed the entire triple kill because he had stopped watching. He tells Kurt he's just not interesting enough. When Kurt demands to know why Bobby hasn't given him the promised shout-out, Bobby brushes him off, saying Kurt should be more like Jesse, who feels genuine and relatable. Jealous, Kurt checks Jesse's social media again, but nitpicks bitterly, criticizing details like her not filming her stories vertically. Meanwhile, Jessie posts the video she recorded in the car to expose Mario and Kurt. Later, she visits her grandmother to care for her, capturing the wholesome moment on camera for her followers. At the same time, Kurt arrives at Bobby's house. Bobby is annoyed and tells Kurt to leave, making it clear on his stream that they're not collaborators or friends. Bobby insults Kurt while his fans watch live, which prompts some of them to check out Kurt's stream to see the argument from the other side. Frustrated, Kurt suddenly stabs Bobby with a knife. Bobby tries to defend himself with a gun, but Kurt overpowers him and kills him. Despite the violent scene, viewers still think it's all staged. Kurt's stream starts gaining more viewers, even hitting triple digits when he hosts it on Bobby's channel. He continues streaming, recording himself showering to clean off the blood and rummaging through Bobby's belongings. While Kurt is busy at Bobby's house, his dad, Chris, texts him asking for a ride to a gig. At first, Kurt refuses, but when Chris mentions he'll be meeting a famous DJ, Kurt changes his mind. Kurt picks Chris up, and it's clear their relationship is strained. They quickly fall into an argument. When Chris finds Bobby's gun in the car, he scolds Kurt, leading to another heated exchange. They only stop fighting when they see cops nearby and decide to hide the gun. Once they reach the club, they meet the famous DJ, Uno. Chris and Kurt ask if she can tag Kurt's channel in a post. At first, Uno declines, but when she grows tired of being there, she agrees to give him the shout-out if he drives her to a taco truck. Eventually, Kurt and Uno find a taco truck. Uno orders Kurt to take pictures of her and wait in the long line for her food as part of their deal. While waiting, Kurt starts telling gross stories to scare other customers away. Meanwhile, Uno is exploring Kurt's car and finds Bobby's gun. She uses it as a prop to take a few selfies before drinking some water. Unfortunately for her, it's one of Kurt's poisoned bottles. When Kurt returns to the car with the food, he finds Uno unconscious and quickly disposes of the water bottle to cover his tracks. However, the commotion catches the attention of nearby cops, who approach to ask Kurt to perform a field sobriety test. Kurt pretends Uno is just his sleeping girlfriend to avoid suspicion. Suddenly, Uno wakes up because she didn't drink enough of the poison to fully succumb. Panicking at the sight of the cops, she grabs the gun and shoots one of them before running away. One officer chases after her while the other focuses on Kurt, who uses the opportunity to escape in his car. A high-speed pursuit follows, driving Kurt's live stream numbers into quintuple digits. Trying to lose the cops, Kurt drives recklessly through a homeless camp, intentionally killing a few people before his car flips over. Meanwhile, Jessie is being driven to her stand-up show by Mike, who keeps pestering her with claims about his industry connections. At the venue, Mike performs a short opening set, but his jokes fall flat. The audience comes alive, however, when Jessie takes the stage. Hidden in a corner, Kurt watches her with his gun. Jessie starts her set with her usual jokes before addressing her experience in the spree ride with Mario and Kurt. She talks about Kurt's desperation for social media followers and how it made her reflect on her own life. Jessie explains that true happiness doesn't come from likes or followers. Regardless of your subscriber count, people will always judge and hate for their entertainment. She ends her set dramatically by smashing her phone on stage, signaling the end of her reliance on social media, and walks off to stunned applause. Inspired by her speech, Kurt decides to leave the venue without causing trouble. Needing another ride, Kurt uses a different app called GoGo and ends up in the car of a cheerful driver named David. David jokes about the news of a crazy spree driver on a murder spree. Kurt takes the comment personally and kills David within seconds. Later, Jessie, fed up with Mike constantly recording her even after she gave up social media, decides to ditch him by calling for a go-go. David's car arrives, but this time it's Kurt behind the wheel. As Jessie gets in, Kurt reveals who he is, reminding her that he was the driver she joked about during her set. He also tells her he attended her show and knows she can't use her phone for help because she smashed it on stage. Believing Leaving Jessie as defenseless, Kurt tells her he's taking her to his home so they can share love instead of hate. Jessie fights back, using a phone charger cord to strangle him, causing the car to crash into a trash container. Kurt stops the car and, furious, punches Jessie, knocking her unconscious. He then drives her to his front lawn, dragging her body into the headlights for his audience to see. Kurt polls his viewers on what he should do with Jessie, and they overwhelmingly vote for him to kill her. Preparing to run her over, Kurt pauses to adjust a fallen camera, but in doing so, he loses sight of Jessie. Leaving the car to look for her, Jessie uses the moment to climb into the driver's seat and takes control of the car. Kurt narrowly avoids being crushed and tries to kill Jessie by pressing her face into the airbag. Jessie fights him off, and Kurt flees into another room. Jessie addresses the live stream, pleading for help and trying to convince the audience that the situation is real. At that moment, Kurt's father, Chris, arrives and is horrified to find the house in ruins and Kurt's mother dead on the floor. It's revealed that Kurt had killed his mother off-screen before starting his spree. Kurt suddenly appears and grabs Bobby's gun from the car, using it to shoot Chris multiple times, killing him. Meanwhile, Jessie tries to escape in the car. When reversing doesn't work, she drives forward, pinning Kurt against the wall. The chat urges her to confirm if he's dead, so Jessie checks the body and discovers Kurt is still alive. Forced to finish the job, she uses his phone to smash his head, killing him. A flashback shows Kurt reveling in the moment just before his death. As Jessie stands over his body, the chat demands a selfie, and she obliges. In the aftermath, Kurt's killing spree becomes a viral sensation. Jessie gains massive fame, becoming a multimedia star. Meanwhile, Kurt is universally despised in the news, but celebrated by toxic corners of the internet. On these forums, fans post tributes, and one user announces they're making a movie about Kurt's story, titled Spree. Don't forget to subscribe. Here's some more interesting story you don't want to miss.